I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everybody, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a birthday stream. Today is my actual birthday. I was supposed to do a live stream Saturday, but it just got away from me. The day, busyness, crazy busy. So here we go. Monday night. We'll see who shows up. It's Labor Day night. Most people got to work or school tomorrow or something, but we're here. We're here. It's been a great day. It's been a good day. Been a good weekend actually. Let me welcome the chat here, and then we'll chat about it and everything. Let's see. I got super chats rolling in already. Thank you guys so much. Ghost Planet Inc. Max, or Ghost Planet Max Inc. Excuse me. 1.0 says they can't stick around, but wanted to pop in and wish me happy birthday. I do appreciate that. If you ever watch this restream, thank you. Eldritch fan, good to see you there. Let's see. Interesting. Star Wars. We can talk about public domain a little bit if you want. Nathaniel Zalozball, good to see you there. 14 BIS or BIS. Great to see you. Late in your country. Appreciate you popping in anyway. Of course, my dear sound engraver. Studio Super, Divinital Kayan, always good to see you. Owen Lister, dang, sweet super chat there. Thank you for 1999. So happy birthday, Prof. Here's some birthday money from me. Appreciate that, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope Beetle Blaze is going well and all of that. That reminds me, I should say thank you to Samuel Proctor for that sweet fan art that was on my thumbnail. He sent me that this morning. I thought, that's really cool. You know, the characters that I champion there. He's got She-Ra, Superman, and Luke Skywalker saying, thanks for sticking up for us. That was cool. So thank you to that. KG, welcome. Is it Tyra Deos? Totally probably butchered that, but it says, happy birthday, Professor Geek. Thanks for your info. Appreciate it. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, poor sound engraver worked 2 shifts today. She's at work all day today. We had our birthday date night yesterday. She watched The Lone Ranger, the Disney's Lone Ranger with me, and she liked it. She liked it a lot. It was just so good to watch it again because I used to teach it on kind of a semester to semester basis, and to the point where, you know, like shot by shot, it just drives me crazy how that film didn't do better. Again, I get it. The people who are expecting to see a Clayton Moore style Lone Ranger, and they didn't see that, that's fine. But people were acting like it was Seth Rogen Green Hornet levels of crap, and it's not. It wasn't even remotely that. It was an origin story, but it was just so masterfully and artistically done. Just the filmmaking aspect of it alone even was just so wonderful. So that was great. Today I watched. My mother made me this sweet like shepherd's pie without onions, and I watched the classic It, the TV series from the 90s, 1990, our TV miniseries. So that was good to hang out and do. Welcome, Private Eye, Anakin Solo, Coffee. Daniel Heron is with us. Good to see you, Birdman. I brought the poll. Who brought Brie Larson? Yeah, no. That's come on, man. I've been eating. Thanks. Yeah, my Village of the Leaf headband. This is actually an old Christmas present, but I've been looking for the right opportunity to wear it. So I just feel geeky tonight. So time to be geeky. Yes, it is a Naruto headband, Owen Lister. Uh, Village of the Hidden. I am Professor Geek of the Hidden Leaf. Studio Super, thanks for $9.99. So happy B-Day. Please say in a goofy voice. Oh yeah, if you don't got my money, there's like there's a YouTube series of somebody with like a little goofy puppet or whatever, isn't he? And he goes around like, "Where's my money?" and stuff like that. Yeah, that's funny, but I don't. For me, and this is just like a thing for me, right? I know some people don't think this, but for me, the Disney characters, the original Disney characters, and even the great Disney animated films that we had, they're almost sacred, right? And that's what makes it hurt so much, the just cesspool that the company of Disney has become. When we were watching, it was 2013, the Lone Ranger, and it was the classic Disney, and we were just like, what happened, Disney? What happened? Where did you go? What happened to you? You're just, it's not even a shell of its former self. It's like it went from like beautiful, wonderful, glorious to evil cesspool of the devil. I mean, it's just a gross, nasty company now. It's disgusting. But be that as it may, I do still find what Walt Disney gave us, the original characters and everything, to kind of be sacred in American folklore. So it always bugs me when people, like if they're talking about the garbage that Disney's become, they always say, oh, the mouse is this, the mouse is that, or they'll do like cartoons of Mickey, like, drunk and money hungry or whatever. I'm like, oh, no. Those characters are sacred. Draw the what's his name, the CEO guy. Draw, Kevin Feige. Draw those idiots who are ruining the company. Don't keep running poor Mickey in the ground. That's just me though. Why would you paint a target on your head by wearing that headband? Might as well have a sign that says now accepting anime recommendations. No, it's a good point, but we are not accepting anime recommendations. Andre Hernandez, good to see you there. Valdi, Samuel Proctor is here. Yeah, good. Thank you for that image. Very cool. Dr. Y for $5 says happy birthday from a fake doctor to a real professor. Appreciate that. Great to have you here. Leia plus size, so many more people. Sorry, can't get to everybody here, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know what happened to Disney. The woke took over, the sleeper cells within Disney were activated. Someone hit the right signal off and they activated it. Again, I say it's Hydra hiding within S.H.I.E.L.D., their time had come and they took completely over. And it's just, sometimes if I think about it enough, I get kind of depressed. I mean, not literally, but it's just like, man, what? I wouldn't even, like, you could offer me, and I used to love Disney World. I used to go there as often as possible. I adored it. It was like walking through the doors of this magical land. It was just beautiful. It was a wonderful place. And you couldn't pay me to go to Disney World now. It would just be too depressing. They're just, it's what a trash place. Everything about it is just the whole company. I make sure I stock up on my classic, my DVDs, my hard copy DVDs, of real media, of the classic films and whatnot. And yeah, the company's just nothing, and there's no coming back from it. There's no coming back from it. People like to hold on to that, nice little fantasy. Well, if we just got the right guy in there, no, the cancer has spread too far. It's Disney needs to die. Now, Disney will never die, right? It's never just too huge, too big of a company. Every time a movie bombs, it's like, that movie bombed for Disney, but they don't care. They own so many things. Little by little, like they sold off their TV properties, I think, like their TV channels or whatever, ABC and stuff like that, and focusing more on this or that. But they still have the resources to be around and continue running culture into the ground for a very long time. I mean, the sheer fact that they're doing a Snow White live action, they've got a Moana live action planned. I guarantee you it's in the pipeline to do a Frozen live action. And that's not just because they're obsessed with live actions. It's because they're obsessed with redoing classic movies. They hate the idea. I mean, the actress from Snow White basically came out and said it. Snow White is old. We need to update that. People can't relate to it. You soulless little shell of a human being. I mean, that is not the case at all. I'm sorry that you can't even appreciate classic art, but and it's that woke syndrome. It's the woke ideology. Oh, we need to remake everything within our current progressed bestest ever value system that's ever been in humanity. That's what they want to do. So they want to take all of the things that culture was built on mythology wise and remake it in their image, remake it in their, through their lens. And they use live action as an excuse to do that. Oh no, we're just updating it with the technology and doing it. No, you're killing it. You're killing it. And that's why I have no sympathy. And I don't even want to talk to people that go to see this garbage. Oh, just curious. I don't care. Well, good. You're just curious. I was just curious to watch somebody, flay my grandmother to death. I was just curious. I was curious to see what it would look like. It's like, what are you thinking? What's your problem? Oh, it drives me crazy. Anyway, that does kind of actually bring me to one topic that I did want to say a little bit about tonight, as long as I was on stream. Sorry, this headband, awesome as it is, it's basically metal right there, and it gets a little hot when I'm on the stream and the lights and stuff. Don't want to get a sweaty forehead there. Last thing I need on my forehead is a glisten sheen of sweat to draw more attention to it, right? I'm surprised. I was thinking there'd be more cracks about my forehead. Oh, covering up that big forehead, huh, prof? But you guys rose above that. I appreciate that. Unless you just said it and I didn't see it. I haven't made any videos about Ahsoka. The Ahsoka series is out. But I have been seeing a ton of people flock to my old videos that I've made about Ahsoka or Dave Filoni, when I've said that Dave Filoni he's meticulously turning Star Wars into Star Wars, the Ahsoka Tano story. That's been his goal from the beginning. And it's so fun to see people finally the light bulbs are finally starting to come on. Some people can't quite all the way go there yet. I'm seeing a lot of people, think like, man, what happened to Dave Filoni? He was really good, when he was working like under George Lucas or under, Jon Favreau. But now Kathleen Kennedy got to him. That's, Kathleen Kennedy is the boogeyman behind every, fandom menaces curtain, shower curtain or whatever. Stop it. Dave Filoni has always been lockstep with Kathleen Kennedy's philosophy. He put out there was the video that surfaced of his talk. This was long before The Mandalorian was even a thing. Long before, I don't know if Disney had bought Star Wars just yet. Maybe they hadn't yet, but he did this talk to this group and he was talking about how we need more women in Star Wars, and Leia was great. I mean, Leia, because, Darth Vader, he was scared of Leia. And that's why, at the opening of Star Wars, episode 4 there, he's kind of scared of her. So he just takes her away and has her, because she's a great character. We need more characters like that. We need, female characters. He was lockstep with this stuff. And I did videos about it. And what did the Filoni zombie say? He had to say that because he has to play the game right now. He has to kind of play the game with Kathleen Kennedy so he can kind of still get work. It is laughable how deluded these people are. They just want to, they will buy into any delusion as long as they can keep watching Disney content and hold on to the little hope that the Civil War will come around and they'll win and Star Wars will become like they want it. Who even wants Star Wars anymore? Like, look at the garbage that Disney has spun Star Wars into. There's no retconning the sequels, guys. Remember when people thought that? Oh, Favreau and Filoni, their big plan is to do that. Please, come on. I think only really simpletons still believe that. All of the silly things that people have believed just so they can cling desperately to this and try to still believe that, they can watch this stuff and it'll get better. So I wanted to reiterate just a few of the things that I've said in those videos to make it current, because the Ahsoka series is proving every single thing I said. They are taking, this is what he's always done from his Clone Wars series. He will cherry pick everything that he thinks is a good idea from the EU, completely bastardize it and put it in his continuity and plug Ahsoka into the main character of all of that crap. They even, the heir to the Empire. They're throwing around words from the Thrawn trilogy, and she's going after Thrawn. He would love, and he might even be planning to do this with his film that they're going to give him, which I hope that gets pulled the plug on or ends up being a Disney Plus series or something instead. But he's planning fully. Don't even deny it. He's planning fully to make the Thrawn trilogy with Ahsoka Tano as the main character. Maybe Luke will float in here or there, but no, Ahsoka's got to be the main one. Ahsoka's the chosen one, guys. That's just a given. In the Filoni Star Wars, Ahsoka Tano is it. She deserves to be a part of every era. She will never die. She is crucial. Everything hinges on Ahsoka the White, Ahsoka the Wise. And she's a crap character. I never understood people that like, well, she used to be a good. No, she was always a crappy character. The idea of her was interesting and decent at one point, but get that little brat out of there. Kill her off. Star Wars, Clone Wars was way more interesting without her as a part of it. The episodes where she wasn't around were actually pretty interesting. She was just a problem from the get-go. Again, the idea of her wasn't. The idea of Anakin having a Padawan was quite interesting, but he can't have such a relationship with his Padawan. She can't keep surviving so far into his continuity, because then, what they're trying to do, they're trying to make Anakin's fall all about Ahsoka when it has nothing to do with Ahsoka. Anakin's fall was about Padme. That was it. Stop it. So I'm going to get to the super chats here in a second, but I do just see the Sound Engraver $2 one. Yeah, the Rey derangement syndrome, or just the derangement syndrome with REY. Yeah, because people think, well, at least she's not like Rey. She's not like Rey, guys, so it's okay. Ahsoka's our hero. She's not like Rey. Rey's a Mary Sue, but Ahsoka's not a Mary Sue. Like, they can't even say it with a straight face anymore. Ahsoka is 100% a Mary Sue. 100% a Mary Sue. Dave Filoni only knows how to write two types of female characters, the Mary Sue and the matriarch. Those are the only types of female characters he knows how to write. And quite often, if you give him enough time, even with a matriarch character, she'll blend into a Mary Sue character. Hera, for example, in the context of the team of rebels and whatnot, was more the matriarch character, the wise, mother-like character. But he'll only keep a matriarch character around if he's got a Mary Sue character to fulfill all of his waifu fantasies with. And the matriarch character is just there to flesh things out. As soon as he starts focusing on the matriarch character, she becomes the Mary Sue character. I remember one person in particular, but people just lost their minds when I was pointing out how Sabine Wren was absolutely a Mary Sue. Straight up, like, how can you even pretend that she's not a Mary Sue? How can you say that? Oh, they just lost their mind. And now look at it. She's hip, awesome artist. She's a badass Mandalorian. She designs the logo for Rebels. She gets the dark saber. She's got force powers now too, because she's awesome and can do anything and everything. And buddy her up with Filoni's waifu Ahsoka. And I mean, it's just, how can you stomach? How can you watch the Ahsoka series and not just want to throw up every 10 minutes? I don't understand this. I don't know. You people are so delusional, and they're finally starting to realize it. And it's really humorous. It's really entertaining to see the ways they're trying to justify that they weren't wrong before. We weren't wrong before. There was a civil war. They just lost. And Filoni was good because he had people working over him. But now Kathleen Kennedy sunk her teeth into him, and there's just no talking to people. There's no helping certain people who just want to believe that, the moon is green cheese. And how dare you suggest anything other than that? They will justify it all. No, the moon really is green cheese. It has to be, guys. It's ridiculous. Let me get back to these super chats, because I missed quite a few here, and I hate it when the super chats roll, and I miss. Studio Super for $4.99, thank you, sir, said, I honestly hope the writer's strike never ends at this point. Want to get paid more? Write better. Why should I pay you more for the mediocrity? I do agree with you there, absolutely, in Hollywood setting. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of the writer's strike, so it might very well be that your average writer just isn't getting the money they deserve from the Hollywood system or something. I don't know about that. So I wouldn't speak personally, like critiquing the whole strike in general, but I do 100% agree with you. Hollywood doesn't deserve our money, period. I don't care if it's a writer, a director, whatever. I just don't, I can't bring myself to watch or play or engage with any new content. It has to be 100% proven to me, has to be out for a while. Like, for example, I just started the other day playing the Guardians of the Galaxy video game that I think was put out in 2021. And it's freaking awesome. It's amazing. I just knew it was going to be more woke propaganda or something like that, but it's not. It was, and I haven't gotten to the total end of it, but I'm pretty close. It's phenomenal. I love that. And I don't for a second think, oh man, I wish I would have gotten this when it was hot, and everybody was, no. I'm so much happier engaging with that stuff after it's been out for a few years. I can read about it. I can judge whether or not it's safe, whether or not I should waste my time with it. That's great. I mean, I'd rather watch old stuff and play old games and read old books and whatnot than nothing new. Hollywood is so far beyond deserving the benefit of the doubt. They don't deserve a chance. Wait until things are actually proven true if you want to give something new a chance, like that. But that's I got me on a tangent, Studio Super. Thank you for that, though. Impious Imp for $5. Excuse me. My cold's actually gone, but I think I just got a tickle in my throat or something. Haven't really talked this much all day. Impy says, thank you for $5. Said trashing the company is revenge for Walt Disney's anti-communist stance. That's my theory anyway. Well, there's no doubt that everybody working at Disney today utterly loathes everything about Walt Disney and every value that he founded the company on. That's a given. He's a dirty, evil white man, and we have to completely remake this company into the face of what we want. They don't care about the company. They don't care about the properties. The only thing that an ideologue sees is an opportunity to preach. That's the one and only thing that an ideologue is ever interested in. So every time you hear one of the writers or directors talk about, these characters or this movie, whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, or Disney, where, I was just really excited to work in, I've always been a fan since I was... No, you haven't. None of that's true. None of it is true. The ideologue, once ideology takes over, the only thing they ever care about is an opportunity to preach, an opportunity to try to control people, to conform the world into their vision. And Disney and fandom properties is just an excuse, a way of doing that, a tool to them. It's really disgusting. Eldritch Fan for $5 said it wouldn't be so bad if the originals were public domain and know the new stuff was canon, then no one could care about new Disney stuff. The same with Star Wars. Now, I do believe in public domain. I really do. And I know some people who, have their reasons too. I'm not going to call them idiots or anything. Do disagree with me about that. But I think with the actual state of the business today and the culture today, the more things that hit public domain, the absolute better. And people say, well, but then what's going to stop anybody from writing their trashy, stories of these characters? I'm like, how will that be any worse than we have it now? Hollywood itself is writing trashy stories of these characters. So, at least give somebody an opportunity to write decent stories with these characters. Because it's just something different. Like, there are great Superman analogs out there. There are great Star Wars analogs out there. But it'll just never take hold in the culture like it would if it just actually had the proper name, the proper characters, and so forth, And so I think the more things that hit public domain, I've been arguing that Superman should be public domain forever now. I do believe that. I think that would do that could only help the characters and could only help the cultural mythology, because once good stuff is actually out there. See, that's the thing that Hollywood's trying to police right now. They're trying their best to police the content that gets created, because the ideologues, the woke ideologues, they absolutely know that the stories they're creating are subpar quality wise. But they want to have that be the only diet that you're allowed to eat, so that you can shut up and eat their preaching, through that. I mean, think about how many people tried to pretend that Captain Marvel was a good movie. You remember that when Captain Marvel was out, and you had the people saying it's a great movie. What are you talking about? Blah blah blah. It does have the hero's journey. It has all this, and they just lost their minds trying to prove that. And it's just an objective truth now that was a garbage film. It's objective truth because look how absolutely nobody gives a snot about the Marvels movie. If that film was worth its salt in any way, it would have had a sequel fast, quickly. It would have had, they wouldn't have brought in all these other characters to try and save her. I mean, but they try to gatekeep the types of stories. They don't like the independent, markets that open up and whatnot. Studio Super for $4.99 said, here's a joke. Back in my day was the best day. Want to know why? Back in my day, we had Wonder Woman. Today, y'all got Wonder If It's a Woman. Nice. I like that. That's good. That's good. Yeah, the real Wonder Woman. The real Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's character is so deconstructed now in popular culture that people will swallow anything with a W on their chest and think, yep, that's Wonder Woman. No, that's a good version of Wonder Woman. It's a Wonder Woman. Now she's been a character who hasn't her story has never been quite solidified in culture like Superman or Batman, to the point where she's had some different variations. You know, the first TV movie that they made before Linda Carter got the role was a different one, but then they realized, hey, we need to stick to the comics, and we got the great Linda Carter series. And but yeah, they just deconstructed her now, made her Xena Warrior Princess, and all kind of horrible stuff. Let me see what else I'm missing here. Oh, and Lister for $9.99. I remember my favorite episode in Clone Wars, where when it focused the clone trooper character, or was one your favorite character, your episodes, or wasn't it focused on the clone trooper characters? Okay. Also, when Yoda shows up, it's always a treat to me. Plus, the droids were hilarious. Yeah, there was great stuff in the series, and people say, "See, Filoni." No, Filoni. Look at the stuff that Filoni wrote. He's an executive producer of that series. So he's going to be listed as a writer sometimes in a group of writers. But if you've ever written with other writers, or you looked at, group projects like that, you know that sometimes the person who just throws out an idea on the table gets listed as a writer. And the real work, as you know, of writing is actually crafting and creating a story and character development and pacing and tension and all of this. Filoni's awful at that. The Siege of Mandalore, that was the first thing that I know of that he was listed as the sole writer on. And you can tell that story is garbage from beginning to end. None of the characters even act like the same characters. I mean, what is Ahsoka's even, what platform does she even have to stand on? She just shows up out of nowhere, in the middle of, like, we're at the cusp of freaking Order 66. The Chancellor has been kidnapped, and she throws a little hissy fit because they're not going to drop all that they're doing and help her with the Mandalore thing. You're playing politics. No worse, trying to save lives, you brat. I'm sorry that you just think everything should be the way you want it. I mean, but the show rewarded her. That's what Filoni does. Here you go, Ahsoka, whatever you want. You're the bestest. No consequences for you. Everything you want. You're the wonderful linchpin of Star Wars. It's such garbage. I hate her character so much, and I just want her to die. Matthew Flynn, the Gladiator of Kaun, for £5. Thank you, sir. Said, Hidden Leaf Village headband prof. Is there something you want to talk about? Now on to my anime recommend. Yeah, when it gets so freaking busy. And when it comes to the anime series that I do follow, I go slow with them because I like having them more to watch. And so, like, I'll have a bout of watching Naruto or My Hero Academia or something like that. Then I'll take a break because I don't want to run out. And plus, I just get so busy that I can't really, my life isn't such that I can make sure I'm, binging, a bunch of shows at a time. I'm so busy with things I do. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the stuff that I do enjoy quite a bit. MP for $5 said, I'm in favor of a gutted copyright so that at the very least, Dojinichi fan comics can be monetized for creators because, well, they're better than canon. Yeah, I'm not up on a lot of the different fan franchises and what, like, fan comics or fanzines and stuff like that. But I've no doubt that plenty of them write far better stories than Hollywood would ever consider or be capable of in any way. All right, I think I caught up on the super chats there. Just wanted to get those. I don't know if you guys already said it in the chat, but did you guys ever have any of you played the Guardians of the Galaxy game? It's really sad. What I like about it is that it seems to be taking, now again, I'm no expert on Marvel Comics or no expert on Guardians of the Galaxy from the Marvel Comics because I was always more of a DC guy, but from what I've heard about the comics, it seems to be taking what was good about the movies and blending it with what's best about the comics. So we don't have any of this nonsense of, like, Peter Quill being Ego's son or anything like that. Yeah, that was fine for the movie. I didn't hate that for the movie. But, yeah, just a lot of good stuff. Drax the Destroyer actually did kill Thanos. He is the one responsible for that. So Drax's character, because that's one of the things the films did. The films really, really reduced Drax. Still a good, cool character, but they reduced his role in the universe quite a bit. So I'm enjoying the game so far. I looked up a little bit to try and research if they were ever going to do a sequel, and it looks like the companies changed hands or something. So any plans they had for a sequel kind of got quashed. But maybe we could get one. Who knows? It'd be interesting. Yes, Sound Engraver. Filoni can't write. Plain and simple. He was the right place at the right time. He wears the cowboy hat. People think that's memorable and cool for some reason or whatever. I did the whole video referencing it was a springboard off somebody else's video. I can't remember the channel's name right now, but it was a good video that they had done that I referenced in my video, talking about how when Dave Filoni was, put in charge of Clone Wars under George Lucas and whatnot, they actually had somebody from the EU come along, and he was the keeper of the holocron, I think was his title. He was the one to check against EU stuff to make sure continuity wasn't going to be messed up or whatever. And Filoni just couldn't care less. As he's famously said, I can't be put in the box. I can't be put in a box. I write whatever I want to write. Well, you don't belong writing a franchise like Star Wars. Go write some, dreamed up fantasy waifu character you created on your own and pretend that that's something worth the crap, I can't stand that man. Cannot stand him. I don't know him personally, and I have nothing against anybody personally like that, but it really bugs me, people who just consistently take a dump over everything good in a cultural mythology and everything good about something, and then pretend that they're awesome for doing it, like the Zack Snyders of the world, that kind of thing. Samuel Proctor says, when I was choosing the characters for that image I gave you, I chose Superman and Luke because that's obvious. And then I was looking for an aspirational female Marvel character. I think you got more of a comment here later. And asked myself, are there any aspirational female Marvel characters like Wonder Woman? Couldn't find any, so I chose She-Ra. That's a good question. I've never considered that. I don't think Marvel really has like a Wonder Woman analog. Not necessarily just an analog, but like in the way that Captain America really fulfills in the Marvel universe the role that Superman fulfills in the Superman or in DC universe, to the extent that one can fulfill that role in the Marvel universe, because it's very different context in DC. But I don't know if they have a female character like a Wonder Woman that would do the same. Yeah, I don't. If anybody thinks of one, it'd be interesting. That's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of that. Gentle Savage says, even James Gunn is guilty of what Filoni does. Gunn bastardizes the versions of the Guardians and Annihilation Conquest, who were originally so much more complete, competent, and badass and cooler looking. I don't doubt it. I do maintain that Gunn can write a good story, just, knows the parts of a story, knows character development, knows theme and all of that. But that doesn't mean that the man should be given it. Certainly doesn't mean he should be given Superman. From what I remember about the Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe you'll know more about this than I did, but I think it was like somebody won a contest to, like, they were going to get a chance at writing that movie or whatever. And I think it was a woman who won the contest, and she wrote up her little script, and she actually chose those characters. Because of course, Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Gamora, they're not like the original Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it was Yondu and some other people who were the original ones in the Marvel comics. But she chose that group, and James Gunn took her ideas for the characters, but then rewrote, the script totally, did a whole new story or whatever from what I heard, but did take her cue from those characters. It is interesting. I've been thinking a lot about epic hero groupings, and I did that video. That was a pretty popular video on the Mythic Four or the Epic Four, and how a lot of teams do fall into that because it's just something that we understand as viewers. And you fall in, you've got the, if you want, like one of the ways I explained it was the earth, water, fire and wind kind of symbols or whatever, but you do have these certain character types that rise to the fore. You've got the Spitfire in some way, usually the funny one or the super emotional one. You've got the intelligent one, the wind, the changing winds. You've got the water, the heart. You got the earth, the grounded, and so forth. And you think about even teams that have more than four, like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example. You often have 2 or 3 characters that kind of mix and match in the same archetype, like both Gamora and Drax. Very different characters, very complete and wonderful characters in their own rights, but they both kind of fulfill that big muscle, part of the team. They're the muscle, whether it's Drax or Gamora, they're the ones that are the super trained fighters, whereas Rocket's clearly the Spitfire. Groot's the earth one that grounds them, that keeps them steady, and Quill's the heart. He's the one that we can relate to because he is human like us, even though he's got Spitfire elements of himself too and everything, but you take them in the context of themselves. So yeah, I've been thinking about like, why not do a a group of, a video on the groups of 5, because there are 5 and 6 and 7 and whatnot. You got the fellowship archetype in general. But I think anything over, you got the Trinity, which is a certain interplay between the characters. You've got the Mythic 4. And I think anything over that is really just characters embodying, crossing into the same like archetypes within that. I don't think there are more roles that different characters can fill, but you can still have more characters, great individual characters, but they tend to kind of, some of them will fulfill the same functions. Studio Super says, if I was in charge of the DC films, I'd be Superman, Batman, World's Finest. I guess these are movies you do. Justice League, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, and Green Lantern. And it'd be animated. That way no one ages out. And controversies with actors are easily dealt with, for they are more replaceable. Not to mention, it'd be good for animated theatrical movies, for they get out of the goofy comedy genre. That animated films really are the way to go. I really loved the Marvel Cinematic Universe when it was started. I personally was on board all the way up to Infinity War. Had some problems, but I didn't judge it because it was clearly part 1, right? So it left on a lot of issues. It was like, obviously the big issue of people disappearing, but even others, character issues, it left off on a little bit of like, how are you going to do that? But I felt like they'd handled things pretty well thus far, and that was clearly a part 1. So I was willing to wait for a part 2. But as soon as the Captain Marvel came out, and Endgame itself, Endgame proved that they really didn't have a plan. They really didn't have a plan. They didn't know what they were doing. They just ignored a lot of things they set up, and just, they were so married to this stupid idea of the time jump, with so many years passing, the dumb idea of like 5 or 6 years passing, to the point where you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, for example. I really don't understand the allure, why people like myself, who enjoyed the first 2 films, even bothered going to see the third one. I really don't get it, because there's no way with that time jump there, with Gamora dead, and now this Gamora 2 from a different time or whatever. It's not a clear trilogy of films. It can't in any way fulfill what a trilogy of films should fulfill. It's not part 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. Part 3 is like Infinity War, and then this one's like this weird little pentultimate adventure thing that, had a couple of feel-good moments where people were like, yeah, that one was good. No, it's not. That's not a proper development of story. And that's not even Gunn's fault. That's just the Marvel Cinematic Universe's fault. They just... And so to get back to your point about the animated, you think about when you watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1, at the end of it, and there's that wonderful scene when Nova Corps, the guy, what's his name? The Wreck-It Ralph actor. I can't think of his name right now, but he says, you guys saved my family too. And, Xandar is saved and all the people there. And you're like, well, you guys got maybe 2 years tops before Thanos just decimates your whole planet. So, it's like when they're working with live action actors, when they're trying to wrangle everything, money, budgets, production schedules, and all of that, they really just can't keep a mythos steady as a mythos should be. So I think you're very much onto something with animated. I think animated is definitely the way to go, but writers and producers need to understand that animated, that mythos needs to stay. You can't keep changing everything up, right? That's the Dan DiDio fallacy. Dan DiDio, got to keep changing it up so people come back. How well did that work out for you, DiDio? That's one of the problems I had with Young Justice. I loved season 1. It was so glorious. And I like season 2. I like what season 2 ended up doing, but I was really mad when season 2 came out, and I'm still kind of a little miffed by this, because by the end of season 1, you just firmly established this team. We'd had some good adventures, but Berlanti and the people behind it were so fixated on this big, huge, world-shaking story that they wanted to tell that they forgot the cool stories that they could just keep telling, the character development and the tension and the pacing that they could keep going with at a natural pace with that team. I bought the little video game that bridges the gap between season 1 and season 2. And it tells you a little bit more of the story of them getting the new team members in and stuff, but it's still not enough. It's still too much of a jump. Time jumps are fine if you know the time jump is coming. Like Dune. When you read the novel Dune, just the first Dune novel, and it's got a part 1, and then you clearly have a time jump to a part 2. But you know that time jump's coming. All right, Paul's with the Fremen now. They're going to train him. You don't need to see the minutia of his training, the minutia of him learning this, this, and that. You've seen him learn enough, and you know his ability to learn. You know his capabilities. It's very believable to you that you could do a little time jump, and he could suddenly be more skilled and so forth. Filoni, for example, horrible. He does not do time jumps. This is another thing about Filoni that I've mentioned in previous videos. He doesn't know how to do character development. He doesn't. He just time jump. All right, now Ahsoka's older. See, she's wearing different clothes and she's not quite as bratty anymore. Although sometimes I forget that I did a time jump and I still make her a total brat, Mary Sue. But no, time jump, guys. Time jump. They're different now. That's not how to write character development. You can't just jump forward in time and pretend that things are changed now. You know, if you're going to do a time jump as a writer, that's something that you have to lay the plans for, lay the groundwork for, and prepare an audience for, make them believe it. Time jumps are too willy-nilly in Hollywood today, and they're not done properly, I don't think. Let's see. I just saw a question. I was going to scroll up. I just saw a question from Divinitalk Ian. Did Naruto do a decent time jump? So I'm still in Naruto Shippuden. So I don't know of any time jump that comes after that, but the time jump between the Naruto series and the Naruto Shippuden, I thought was a fine time jump, because I know they did a lot of filler episodes to get to the end of Naruto, the series, but that was what's supposed to happen. He's supposed to go off with Jiraiya, pervy sage, and learn, because he wants to grow and become a ninja that can be the one to bring Sasuke home. And so that was fine. You knew he was going off. The character is taken, and this works for his character development. He needs to go learn things specialized from Jiraiya that he can't learn just by going on regular Leaf Ninja missions. So he has to go away, and that was understandable. And yeah, I mean, you could do maybe the manga did this. I don't know. I didn't follow the manga, but maybe you could do fill-in stories of his time with Jiraiya as he grew up a little bit, and before he came back in Shippuden. But yeah, I thought that was a good time jump. That was decently done. Thank you there, Dominic Powell. Appreciate the happy birthday. I thought my throat's doing much, much better, but occasionally when I talk a lot, I think it might be allergies too in the air. Andre Hernandez's drinking game. Take a drink every time Disney steals an idea from the EU. I don't know if you'd survive that drinking game. Oh yeah, James Gunn he's a horrible person to run DC. It's a horrible idea. And hey, there's the slimmest of chances that I could be wrong, and maybe his or not, I wouldn't say I could be wrong. There's the slimmest of chances that some alternate universe breaks through and his Superman movie is a good Superman. I don't think that's going to be the case, but anything's possible, right? But he's not the right person to run DC. DC, or Warner Brothers, is continuing to do what they've always done with their DC properties, is not bother learning about the characters, not bother understanding where they should go. Let's just find somebody who's done a popular superhero movie and give them our property, right? Tim Burton did a good Batman movie. Let's give him Superman. Oh, Bryan Singer did a good X-Men movie. Let's give him Superman. Oh, Kevin Nolan did a good Batman movie. Let's give him. Oh, he doesn't want to do Superman. Zack Snyder did a good, what was it? The Watchmen movie. Let's give him Superman. Oh, did James Gunn do a good Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad? Did he do a good? It's a horrible film. Did he produce a movie in which Superman's an evil psycho killer? Let's give him Superman. I mean, Warner Brothers has no clue. I don't even think they know how to be movie executives, much less understand how to handle DC properties. Warner Brothers is just notoriously bad decision makers at every step of the way. I don't know why people have faith in them. Yeah. Don't even get me started on a roll there. Yeah, it's not a jump. See, Suicide Squad, and I didn't bother watching his Suicide Squad because it was still within the Snyderverse, and I don't care about anything in that continuity. But it's not a jump. Suicide Squad is the same type of we're rogues trying to be good guys. That's Guardians of the Galaxy. So it wasn't a jump to go from Guardians of the Galaxy to Suicide Squad. Going from Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad to Superman? Yeah, explain that one to me. Yeah. Leia Plus says, I don't know why people seem to be satisfied with sending Captain America back to the past in Endgame. That is not right. That is not him. It spits on everything about him as a character. The reason they're happy with it is because it gets the white guy out of the way. Get the white guy out of the way. That's all they wanted to do. Get Sam Wilson into the title. And Sam shouldn't be. It was a spit in Sam Wilson's face to make him Captain America. He's Falcon. He was an amazing hero as Falcon. He should have been able to develop that role. The films themselves were character developing for Bucky. Bucky's the one that needs redemption. Falcon didn't. Falcon is Captain America like already. You know, he's true blue to who he is as a hero. Bucky's the one that needed the redemption. Do a series about Bucky, a freaking former serial killer for Hydra, wearing the captain's shield now. That's a fascinating story. You know, even though Bucky didn't, he was used and manipulated to do it, but in the public's eye and whatnot, that'd be fascinating. Way more interesting than Cap Falcon's garbage was. I know you agree. You just got me on the topic. Studio Super 999. Thank you, sir. The reason I'd start with Superman, Batman, and the world's finest before doing Justice League is to reestablish who Batman and Superman are to folks. Then do like the JL film they plan to do before MOS, Man of Steel. I agree with you. At the same time, I'm honestly to the point now, I don't even want them to start doing DC movies right. I don't even want them to start doing Star Wars movies right. I just want them to stop. I want them to stop. They have ran these franchises into the ground, and it's not because of overexposure. It's not because, people are just tired of these characters now. It's because they cannot figure out how to do them right. And it's to the point now where I don't even care if they do them right. I just want you to stop. I've got my good stories of these characters. I don't need, your new crap, Hollywood. I don't need you throwing crap at the wall and finally something sticking. I don't. Just stop. Just stop it. And it bugs me that people aren't, even people who think and would profess to be of that mindset aren't. They will dash to the theater as soon as Superman Legacy comes out and be the first to watch it so they can tell you if it's good or if it's bad and be in the know and be one of the cool kids. And yeah, I just don't care. I just want them to stop. But I do understand your reasoning there for that. I definitely do. Establish the characters. That's the thing. I mean, at the time that what's his name's Justice League movie was going to come out, the reasoning was, as you know, Studio Super, as you were alluding to, I think, was that people knew who Superman was. People knew who Batman was. You didn't need to go back and tell the origin story again. Just tell the story of the team. Now people don't know who these characters are. There's so many different origin stories and crappy, garbage, deconstructed origin stories that no one even knows who the characters are anymore. So yeah, it's a good point. Owen Lister for $9.99. Thanks. I had an idea for my own original superhero universe. Is this the Beetle Blaze superhero universe or something different? Where it starts with the fall of the gods from every mythology, and then new gods start showing up as superheroes. Yeah, trying to think. That's I don't think you're stealing from anybody, but there's I feel like there's a comic out there that has almost like a similar take to that. Not that same one, but I was going to recommend it to you as something to kind of do as research on, but I can't put my finger on the title of it right now. Maybe other people do. But yeah, I mean, that's fine. It really bugs me, though, that Gunn is calling DC, his take on DC, gods and monsters. If you go into the DC universe thinking that the DC characters are gods, now look, I get it from a perspective. Superman is so powerful that he could be considered godlike on paper. But Superman would never, ever let you call him a god. He's a human being. He's a boy from Smallville, Kansas. That's who he is at heart. And don't you ever call him a god. He would reject that role in a heartbeat, as any good DC character should, unless you're talking about, an anti-hero or Mongol or something like that. That's just, it shows his wrong-headed thinking about the universe already, calling it gods and monsters. It's really dumb. Samuel Proctor for $2. Are you still teaching in the writer's workshop? No, the writer's workshop thing I did it wasn't too popular. It also wasn't, I didn't get enough interest in it to get good, well-balanced groups, because you have to pair people with people who are already at a similar writing level. And I didn't get enough people interested so I could really match up people with other writers of a good level. I did one, which was fairly successful, but yeah, that's something that I've stopped doing, the writer's workshop. I do still edit for people. And I actually have I talked about this last week. I haven't really pimped it or promoted it even remotely since then. Let me share the link. My Patreon, I just started my Patreon again. I just need to start promoting it to actually get followers or whatever, because I don't have any right now because I just mentioned it in passing on one stream and that was it. But I do have I'll put the link in the chat. I do have a tier on the Patreon that will let you $20 a month. I think I've got like 10 pages a month of developmental editing for you. And that's something that you could come and go as you wanted to. So if you got 10 pages of a story that you wanted some feedback on, you could shoot $20 and get a good developmental feedback. And that's pretty, it's very meticulous, commented, throughout the whole 10 pages. I use track changes in Word and really just load it up with comments, getting you going in the right direction, or talking about your story in that. And yeah, so some people might want to come in for a bit, leave, whatever, as needed. But that's something that I'm doing in terms of editing right now. Dr. Y, yeah, Diet Pepsi. Yeah, I'm still mourning the loss of Diet Dr. Pepper. I don't know why they changed the formula. And it is true now. It's objectively true. They changed the formula. It's not just me being paranoid. Everybody has told me, yeah, Diet Dr. Pepper is just it doesn't taste the same anymore. And it hurts because, man, Diet Dr. Pepper was so good. I would love a nice, cold, sweet Diet Dr. Pepper right now. But they took down the sweetness. I don't know what they did to the formula, but it's not the sweet one anymore. It's kind of gross. And so I've got Dr. Pepper Zero, which Sound Engraver really likes. I keep that on hand for her. And it's okay. Dr. Pepper Zero is okay, but it's not. It's just like pretending to be Diet Dr. Pepper, and it's not. So, the best I can do is Diet Pepsi, which is it's okay. It's pretty good. I'm developed a nice taste for it, but I'd prefer my Diet Dr. Pepper to come back as it was. I don't know why they did that. Wow, is that true, Spidey Rules? James Gunn said Tim Burton's Batman film was awful and thought Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson's acting was ridiculous. He even said that Danny Elfman's music was his worst score. I'm going to have to look that up. That right there tells you that James Gunn is a psychopath and doesn't know what he's talking about. I could understand if he stopped at Tim Burton's Batman was awful. Now, I don't think that at all, but I can understand from a certain perspective if you want a Batman that's very true to the comics. Yeah, Batman does some things in that movie that he shouldn't be doing. That's sure. It's not the real Batman that maybe you wanted. Sure. But to say that Keaton and Nicholson's acting was horrible or the score, no. You clearly don't know what you're talking about when it comes to superheroes. I mean, this is the man who calls Superman a big old galoot, whose greatest weakness is that he won't kill. That's the man that's doing Superman Legacy. Have fun with that. But you know what? It's going to be new. It's going to be the current film. So people are going to pretend that it's, the second coming, that it's wonderful. And they are going to laugh at anybody who dares to criticize it. This is coming. This happened. People just love the shiny new penny. And then they don't care afterwards. I remember when Aquaman came out, and I was talking about this is clearly not Aquaman. This is a horrible, horrible take. Oh, you're so stupid, Prof. Now I know you're ridiculous. Oh, bro, this movie's great. Everybody loves it. No one even cares. No one thinks about Aquaman anymore. Flash in the pan. Don't say anything bad about our current firework in the air. Can't do that. Okay, no, we moved on to something else. It's just that'll happen with Superman Legacy, I don't doubt. That's what happened with Pattinson's Batman. This is the most amazing Batman movie. Sure, okay, whatever. 999 for Owen Lister says it's a different universe from Beetle Blaze. Okay, the superheroes you're talking about. In this universe, there are people who are born with abilities like X-Men, only they're descendants of gods and demigods called SOs, super ordinary. That is an interesting take. I'm sure you did, but I would say definitely research Greek mythology, because the idea of demigods are half mortals being born of gods with powers and whatnot. I mean, that's Heracles' story, but there's a lot of them there. And that'd be really cool mythology to draw on for that kind of universe. So cool idea. A Troll 980 gets that I opened up another one. Okay, so I was at the bottom of this one. This one was like I've been drinking it for a while, so like it got a little flat at the end. So I thought, I don't know if that's really going to last me the whole stream, especially with my throat. So I did grab a new one to crack open. Yes, I did. Don't judge me. It's my birthday. um, Mr. D-Man says the people of St. Louis apologize for James Gunn. I didn't even know where he was from. Swatty Rule says the only valid criticism that James Gunn gave was that the Joker shouldn't be the one to kill Bruce Wayne's parents. Yeah, see, I get that. I get those critiques on it. Now, I love Tim Burton's Batman, not because it's. I still think it's the best and truest live action Batman we've had on screen. I still maintain that. And people Batman Begins followers will, rankle all up at that. But no, I still think it's the best, our closest live action Batman we've had to the real Batman. But it's not the real Batman. Bruce Timm's Batman does things it never should. Or he never should have. The reason I don't judge it as harshly is because superhero movies weren't what they could be at that point, or weren't what they should be. They haven't come as long. We were years away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Hollywood was actually able to give us real, good, proper incarnations of these characters. And I don't think what Tim Burton gave us was bad. It wasn't a poorly done film. It was an amazingly done film. The aesthetic was brilliant. The music was wonderful. I understand how a storyteller, not growing up as a comic book character, would come into these characters and think, okay, we need to consolidate. If Joker is going to be our villain, we can't have this other loose character out there named Joe Chill that we don't know what to do with. We do have to consolidate things, So I could see them, I could see their reasoning for, okay, well, Jack Napier and whatever, even though to real comic book lore, it's like, you don't give the Joker an actual secret identity. You don't give, you don't do these things, so clearly, yeah. But it was great for what it was. It's still, it's not on my list of the best superhero films ever made, because it doesn't fall into that category, with as far as being a true treatment of the character. But it's definitely on my list of favorite superhero films because of the momentous event that it was, the influence that it had. I mean, we wouldn't have Batman the Animated Series in all of its wonderful 100% iconic glory if we hadn't had Tim Burton's Batman. Yeah, Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah, that's the best Batman film that's ever been in theaters as far as the truest film, definitely. So I'm starting to run out of steam a little bit here, but we can take any last minute comments here. Studio Super says, I argue that with Jack Nicholson's Joker, it's still you're right, he's still an elemental villain, because it's his, to its credit, you don't see a point where he tries to be good. Yeah, no, that's one thing that they got really well with the Joker, that he's still elemental. Even when he was Jack Napier, he wasn't a good guy who just has some bad things happen. No, he's been straight up evil from the very start, definitely. Yeah, still an elemental villain. I mean, even though I think there are problems with the movie, I still really like a lot about Nolan's Dark Knight. I think there are a lot of problems with it. I don't like it as much as I do the Tim Burton movies, but I like a lot of aspects of Heath Ledger's Joker. It's not my favorite Joker, but I like aspects of it. And he's elemental from the start, that's good. Yeah, good point, Nacho. If he hates Burton's Batman, what does he think of Donner's Superman? Well, he'd never give an honest answer to that question, because, that's like Zack Snyder had to pay lip service to Donner, but still take a dump all over everything good about it, in his movie. Andre Hernandez for $20. Thank you, sir. Said, will the Prof find the secret formula for Diet Dr. Pepper? Bumped up there. Will he be able to adapt that true iconic DC characters? Will he be able to marry Sound Engraver in time? Tune in next time. Same Prof, same time, same Prof channel. The only one I can say yes to is marrying Sound Engraver in time. It is coming up close. The dress is paid off. We got a couple other big payments to meet here, paying the balance on the photographer and caterer and all of that. But it's coming up. It's coming up soon. It's officially next month. I can say that now. We're in September. Next month, I'm getting married. So that's pretty cool to be able to officially say that. I think it's like 47 days, 46 days or something like that. But it's a-coming. Matthew Flynn, Gladiator of Kaun, thank you for £5, says, Prof, did you know Mark Miller is apparently making a Superman story? Hot take, Greek myth is the best mythology ever. Greek myth is. It's hard to beat that. I did not know he's writing a Superman story. I do know that Mark Miller, and it's shocking, right? Because Mark Miller, the type of stuff he writes, he does understand who Superman should be. And he did write a couple of stories in the Superman animated show universe. He's written some comics that were in the Superman animated universe. I think they were pretty good, if I remember correctly. But he wrote, I did a film or a video recommendation video for Huck, and this was when Snyder was ruining Superman in the movies. The New 52 was still ruining Superman in comics, and he said we need this kind of character. No one's giving us this true blue aspirational character anymore. So he wrote this comic series. It was short lived, but it was a wonderful series called Huck, Huck. And you can look for Professor Geek Huck on YouTube, and you'll see my recommendation of it. Wonderful, because he knows the type of role that Superman should play and fulfill in society. So that's interesting. I didn't know he was writing something new. I'll have to look into that and see maybe. Thoughts on Splinter of the Mind's Eye and Shadow of the Empire? Interesting. Those are two big topics, man. Fill the gaps in the movie's original trilogy. I think Shadows of the Empire is much better after the EU that came after it kind of fixed the continuity of it. I think it's always a stupid idea when you end an epic trilogy, Luke and the Emperor is defeated. It makes bad writing, and it just betrays lazy writing to the very next story and then the bad guy comes back, and he comes back, So, in the case of the EU timeline, you've got the Thrawn trilogy, you've got the X-Wing Chronicles. It's not the Emperor comes right back, So, if you fit Shadows of the Empire, no, I'm sorry, Shadows of the Empire. That's the one that's in between. I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different one. Shadows of the Empire is the filler between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I'm thinking Dark Empire. Sorry, wrong one. But we should do book studies of those. Honestly, they're good stuff. But I did get a super chat I want to get to here. Studio Super 999 with Heath Ledger Joker. He plans for chaos. With Nicholson's, he just lives the chaos. Plus, his Joker was actually funny. Nowadays, Joker just talks about things he thinks is funny. Yeah. That's the big difference between Nicholson and Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's Joker, and it's not Heath Ledger's, it's the way it was written, the real big anarchist, right? But he was desperate to change the world into anarchy. And that's not necessarily a bad take to take on the Joker all the time, but I think you can go too far with it. And if we'd have had more of that type of Heath Ledger Joker, I think it'd just have been too much. But you're right. Nicholson's Joker was the true anarchist. Nicholson was living without a care of the world. He didn't want to change the ideal world. Was an anarchy to him. He was already living the ideal anarchic life, killing who he wanted to and changing this and doing what he thought was funny and doing this. And yeah, definitely. Divinital Kai said, I bought and read Huck. Oh, cause of you. Thanks for the recommendation. Good. I'm glad. Hope you enjoyed it. It's good stuff. Dr. Y for $5. What are your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon and Netflix calling it a Star Wars killer? I heard a little bit about that, but I don't know anything about that to comment on. If Zack Snyder's behind it, it's going to be poorly written because that's what Zack Snyder does. Even when it's a solidly written story, he still manages to dumb it down a little bit. Like Watchmen. Love or hate Watchmen, the comic was well written, okay, and his movie still just poked holes in that. So if he's behind it, it's not going to be very well done. It's not going to be well directed. There will be if you enjoy Zack Snyder's aesthetic, then you'll be giddy for the visuals. But that's the only thing that you can maybe say about it. But no, I don't know anything else about it. I heard somebody say something that he was like, "Oh, this is my Star Wars," or "This is the real Star Wars," or something as it should be. No, my answer to that is this great meme I saw one time. It was after Batman v Superman released, and it was Zack Snyder presents the Care Bears, and it was like these grizzly with these red eyes and blood dripping from their teeth and everything. And I was like, yep, that's what he does. It was adorable too. It's when Batman v Superman was about to come out, and he still thought that he was like everybody loved him and people were going to love his movie and everything. And he was talking about all these other things he wanted to do in the future, and I'd like to make a George Washington movie and all this stuff. And then Batman v Superman came out, and it was revealed how crappy of a storyteller he really is, and he's crawled back into his hole. Studio Super 99. One of my favorite Soup stories Miller did was Superman for the Animals. Yeah, I remember that one. That's one of the good ones I was thinking of. That one I don't think was the Superman animated verse, but it was another one he did, right? It doesn't focus on Superman himself, but a kid and the effects Supes has on him, and ends with Supes telling him nice work. And those are 100% valid types of stories to tell with Superman. Some writers, I don't think, can really get into the heart and perspective of Superman, and that's okay, but at least tell a good story like that, where Superman's kind of the guardian angel that comes into the story, that saves somebody that you're following or something like that. Those are fine. I think we need more stories like that. Shouldn't be the only Superman stories we have, but yeah, we need those kind of things. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wind it down here. Logic Finest says the last question: what do you think about Hollywood adaptations, comics and or sci-fi? If Hollywood's behind it nowadays, 99.99% is going to be awful. There's always that one slither percent chance that something will be good, but Hollywood can't adapt anymore. Hollywood can't write anymore. Hollywood is just going back and finding previous material that they can try to get some kind of, brand recognition interest into, and then deconstruct and ruin in every way. That's just what Hollywood does. Gentle Savage, the equivalent of an elemental villain when it comes to heroes is the aspirational hero. So the elemental villain is just already evil. We don't need to see them be mistreated or have a sob story that made them evil. Those are fine. You can have sympathetic villains, and they're important. But you need the elemental villains. The counter side of that when it comes to heroes is the aspirational heroes, who are just already good. We don't need to see Superman have moral failings and make mistakes and bad things happen to him where he decides to be good and not to kill. No, Superman's just good from the start. You need, and they should be fewer than cathartic motivational heroes, but you desperately need those aspirational heroes, just like you need elemental villains to make a fictional universe work. Tom Spiegel for $5 says, I don't know anything about Rebel Moon, but I think John C. Wright is still working on his 12-book fix of the Star Wars sequels, Star Quest. Hadn't heard of that either. Interesting. See, that's when it comes to like people fixing the Star Wars sequels, I know a lot of people have tried it and stuff. I'm not opposed to like, seeing what somebody has to offer and something like that, but I don't care about the Star Wars sequels. I don't want to see those fixed. Like I have no interest in Rey. You can't make Rey an interesting character to me. The EU already did the Star Wars sequels, and I just won't accept anything other than that. I'm not interested. And, it's fine. I mean, I'm not saying people who do this shouldn't do that or whatever, and maybe they can come up with cool ideas, and maybe there's some merit in the exercise itself, and that's fine. But it's not something that I'd be interested in spending a lot of time with. I just feel like the EU already did that. We already have the real Star Wars sequels. Studio Super for $9.99. You guys just won't let me go. You keep throwing money at me. Not that I mind that. I'm paying for a wedding. That would be a good short story. I thank you for Studio Super for the super chat. That would be a good short Superman series where each episode focuses on a different person dealing with something, and Superman in some way inspiring them, helps them deal with something. You're right. It really would. It'd be amazing. I agree. Say a series that shows how the aspirational archetype functions in daily life. Yeah, it would be a great series. You could call it something like, I don't know. I thought I had a good idea, but then it escaped. But yeah, that'd be a great idea. What does Superman mean to the DC universe? And you could have that him helping other heroes, but also just, your everyday people and stuff. That'd be great. You say, he's not really fixing the sequels themselves, Tom Spiegel. He's writing completely original space opera based on what the sequels should have been. Okay. So yeah, fixing the sequels doesn't necessarily mean using the same characters or the same setup, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I know a lot of different people do it, but I really do like the EU's, overall. I mean, there are some hit or miss books in the EU, even in the great EU, but I still like the overall trajectory of it. What happens to Luke after, Return of the Jedi, and eventually rebuilding the order to the best of his ability, but having to go through first the, what was her name? Oh shoot, what's her name? The woman who first takes over the Empire, Yvonne Isard, the one with the two different color eyes and whatnot. Her first, and then you got other people trying to take over the Empire. Thrawn trilogy, of course, when Thrawn finally returns from the outer reaches of space, and then ultimately the Dark Empire thing happening. Eldritch fan said, Prism made Ray interesting, I'll bet you. I mean, I'll check out the Prism one day. I hate everything about Ray's character. I just can't, like, why fix her? Just create a better character, you know? But I'll check it out someday. Dr. Y for $5 said Rebel Moon started out as a Star Wars script, but Lucasfilm rejected it, so he turned it into his own thing. That's what I heard. Yeah, I'm glad you confirmed that for me, because I kind of sort of heard that, but I didn't know if that was the real deal. And again, just like how presumptuous of you, Zack Snyder, to think that because 10 really vocal people like you, that you get to go do a Star Wars movie or something. Like, he does have his fans, right? But it's just an objective truth that he's a very divisive filmmaker. And Disney right now, trying to distance themselves from divisiveness, not fixing anything by any means, but just trying to pretend that divisiveness isn't happening. Like, what universe do you live in where you think Disney would hire you to make a Star Wars movie? Eldritch fan said, I was disgusted by the EU Darth Jason storyline. Maybe, and I've heard that from people, Eldritch fan. I haven't gotten that far yet. Because like I said, I'm relatively new to the EU. It's still been within the last 5 or so years that I even started the EU, or 6 or 7. And there's a lot to take in, a lot of eras and whatnot. And so that's one thing that I haven't gotten as much. When reading for me, I always like to have a book that I'm sitting down and reading tactily, just reading the actual hard copy. That's very important. I think everybody should have that. Should at least have one book that you're reading at any given time. And sometimes it's a graphic novel, but most of the time it has to be a good prose novel. But I'm so busy that on a daily basis, I don't have a lot of time to just sit and dedicate to reading, So my progress in a book is sometimes slow just because I don't have the time to sit and read. So I do listen to audiobooks, though, on my commutes. It's easier in my schedule to fit audiobooks in. And when it comes to the EU, there's not a lot of audiobooks, so I refuse to listen to anything abridged. So that's why my progress in a lot of the written EU stuff, although I love everything that I've read, and I look forward to, but maybe I'll agree with you about Jason Solo. Maybe I will. I don't know. I just haven't gotten that far yet. It's kind of hard to say, Samuel Proctor. At first, I was going to do it as like going from the very beginning. I did make it all the way through the Old Republic. Like, I'm up to the Old Republic MMO game era, But I've had to dip in different eras and stuff, and I'm interested in, obviously it started with the Thrawn trilogy, and I was interested in some of the things, some of the fillers that happened between prequel and original trilogy era and stuff. So kind of going all over the place. Yeah, no, there just aren't much unabridged EU audiobooks. It's tragedy. I don't know why there aren't more. It should be. They were for a while there. Disney's been re-releasing some of the EU books under their Legends banner. Weirdly, some of the books that they were already re-releasing as Legends, but they're just putting it out with new cover art, or re-releasing as this or that. And for a while, they were releasing unabridged audio books of them. So you have like the first 3 or 4 of the X-Wing Chronicles released in unabridged audio, and then they just stopped. Like, their last release of these books included Yoda, Dark Rendezvous, and they didn't even bother releasing an audiobook of that at all. So it's they don't care about it. They try to milk it, and even if when they're going to re-release things, they're just hoping to get a little money, and they really just don't care about the good Star Wars stuff. They don't. All right, so I am out. I will give this tease here. Spidey Rules talking about Alice Cooper lost cosmetics deal. Yeah, it's adorable that people think they can cancel Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper, he's my hero. He's him and Sammy Hagar, like, right up there in the music heroes for me. David Coverdale, but he's awesome. Alice Cooper is so far above anybody ever trying to cancel him. So, like, who cares about a cosmetics deal? I am getting in the mail tomorrow his new CD, The Road, and I do plan on doing a review of that. I do have that Cassette Hiss channel, which I haven't really put much content on. I'll probably cross-post my review of Alice Cooper on this channel as well as that one, but eventually I would like to get music stuff built up over there, because my audience on this channel isn't always as interested in the music thing, obviously, because I didn't build this channel up on music. I built it up on the geek stuff, so that's understandable. But yeah, I'll definitely talk about that more, and we will talk about Dark Empire more, Andre Hernandez, because they did make a really great audio drama of all 3 Dark Empire books, and that's one thing that I think would be good book study fodder. like when we get through Dawn of the Jedi or something. So, yeah. Alice Cooper's awesome. Yeah. Agree with you, Mr. D-Man. So, yeah, Nathaniel Oswald, last comment there. Your recommendation of Superman's Secret Identity made me buy that book. If you're going to reimagine Superman, take notes from that story. Definitely. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for hanging out on the birthday stream. I need to go get a little vegging in on my birthday. Get a little enjoyable veg time on my birthday because I got a class to teach in the morning. So don't want to stay on stream too long and let my day go all the way. But thanks, guys, for hanging out. I appreciate it. And I will see you Friday night for another book study stream. And then next Saturday, I'll be back to the actual office hour streams. This weekend was just too crazy. Got away from me. So thanks, folks. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue superhero stories you love.